candidates will be seated, please. The CD20 candidates. Okay, my name is Patty Gutting, and I have a group called Southside on the Rise, and this is where we meet the second Tuesdays. And this particular month we're having CD20 forum, and above all things is our Lord. So I have asked Weston Martinez to say some prayers, say a prayer for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you're able to, if you would please rise and remove your hats. It's so exciting to see such a large group on the southwest side of Bexar County. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, Lord, for the sacrifices that have been made to bring this meeting together, Lord. We thank you, Father God, for allowing us to live in a country that is blessed by you and blessed as a nation. We thank you, our founding fathers founded our government on your principles and your values so that we might have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so that we might be able to have freedom of worship, and we might have the ability to raise our children and our families so that we can have the blessings of a shining city on a hill. Father God, thank you for this candidate forum tonight, Lord. I pray that everybody that's involved, Lord, you just give them supernatural wisdom on how to overcome those that would want to kill the American dream, those that would want to stamp out our ability to worship you, and those that do not want the America that we grew up in. I thank you, Father God, that tonight, even as we have candidates that are fighting for a position, Lord, I thank you, Father God, their great ideas would even make the other ones stronger and make them better and bring us together as a more unified group so that we can glorify your name, so that you can be praised, so you can be represented, and so that we can work together closer and on a more regular basis. And I thank you, Father God, for all that. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. And all God's people said, Amen.
Thank you, Weston.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and now we'll stand for the pledges. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Nation.
Thank you all. Okay, can I get a volunteer to be a timekeeper? Anybody? Val? Also, anybody who is a candidate for a different position than CD20, can you please stand up? We'll have you talk a little bit about yourselves later. You know, Weston is a candidate. He's up there. Okay. There'll probably be some others. Gary Garcia. We'll have you talk a little bit more about yourselves at the end. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Greg Runghill, who's going to be the moderator for this forum. Thank you.
Okay. The bill keeper. It's up to you. Okay, welcome tonight. Thank you for coming. We are at Southside on the Rise. I am so fortunate to have several people that I work with on different things, different clubs actually. But particularly tonight, if there was a delay, it was because of me. I just drove in from Austin. My daughter came in for a short few days, and they have twins and they needed some help getting from the airport to settle in and all that. So I told her I'd be here at 6:30. I was, but I was just rushing over here. And I'm glad somebody took care of the sound system. So tonight, what we're going to do is that we're going to have the candidates speak out. The first thing we're going to do is allow them 3 minutes and they're going to introduce themselves. Now, once you get to the end, Mr. Gary, once we get to the end, wait on the microphone, because then I'm going to ask you the first question that's going to come back. All right? Here's the microphone for you. All right. Very good. So let's begin. Before we begin these questions, I need to say something. Today is a great day to be a Republican.
Yay!
I heard an encouraging and inspirational word by someone who happened to be online. And he said words to this effect: embrace the battle. If you just let it simmer, you know what the words mean. Embrace the battle. And obviously we're in a battle in this country over our values, over our Constitution, over the definition of marriage, male, female, abortion, all sorts of things. And it is a time to stand, and so I really appreciate you coming out here and giving the opportunity to the candidates to speak their minds. And so we're going to begin right here. Please introduce yourself. On forward, Dominic, you could stand, and you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening. Please forgive me, my voice is a little weak because I'm a little under the weather. My name is Dominic Dina. I am a candidate for District 20 for the United States Congress. The reason I want to go to Congress on your behalf is because we need a voice in Congress that is going to speak for all of us. Unfortunately, the current congressman only speaks for his own party, and he really doesn't speak much at all because you never hear him, see him, and you don't know what he's doing. If you saw the Express News, just the other day they listed 3 accomplishments the gentleman has in 7 years. 3 accomplishments in 7 years. We're getting short-shifted here. That's wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm real happy to be able to do this. I've been in our community now for going on 28 years. I'm retired from the Air Force, as you know. I've been an adjunct faculty member here at Northwest Vista College. I'm very happy to be able to be with these other 4 candidates because we've all agreed that we're going to play nice. However, it's getting time now where you're going to have to make a decision. And when you ask us questions, don't throw us any softballs. Ask questions that you really want to know about, not local questions. Let's talk about things like the GIs that are having a problem with suicide. Suicide in America is 14 to 100,000 with the civilian community. It's 30 per 100,000 in the military. There's a problem there. We need to address it. We need to look at taxes. We need to look at school and school choice. I implore you to stand up and be pro-life and push adoption over abortion. We can make a difference. We as Texans, we as Americans are being attacked. Our way of life will go away if we do not send people to Congress who have the gumption to stand up and tell the social progressives or progressive socialists, whatever you want to call them, that they're wrong. And it's okay to disagree, and we can disagree nicely, but disagree we must. We know what it means to be a Texan. We're in San Antonio. And I hate to bring up the Alamo, but that was the perfect example of when you stand for a reason and you draw a line in the sand, that means something. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you. I am a constitutionalist. I am against abortion. I love my country. I love Texas. And I pledge to do my very best on behalf of all of you, all of Texas, and all of America. My name is Dominic Dina, and I thank you so very much.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Orta. I'm a registered nurse, and I am running for the Texas 20th Congressional District. I like to mention that I'm a registered nurse because the profession is a profession of serving And I believe as a representative, it will be a natural extension of serving only on a larger scale. My campaign is based on a foundation of going back to the fundamentals of true representation, Americanism, and integrity. When I talk about true representation, I mean representation for the district, for the local district here, not the national voice, but for District 20. What your needs are, what your wants are, what we need for our local community. When I talk about integrity, I'm talking about being an upstanding citizen, being a person who follows rules, who has good, strong morals and standards. When I talk about Americanism, I am talking about uniting as one. I'm talking about leaving the identity politics by the door, not allowing someone to divide us by our characteristics. The term is united we stand, divided we fall. And everyone else on the other side is trying to divide us, and we need to stop that. And the only way you can do it is by voting in someone who does not use that as their everyday mantra. My name is Tammy Orta, and I'm running for Congressional District 20 Representative. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm glad to be here with y'all this evening, and I appreciate y'all coming out on this cold night. I'm Anita Kegley, and I'm running for U.S. Congressional District 20. And I felt called a couple years ago to run, and the very main reason that I felt run is because I feel like running is based on our Judeo-Christian Constitution. I feel like our religious liberties are being chipped away, and I have a problem with, my pastor just Sunday said that one of the things, he just came back from a conference, and he said that they're going to not be able to speak about, marrying one man to one woman, that they're not going to be able from the pulpit to say those kind of things. And you know what? That is hogwash, and we need to stop that. Also, our gun rights, our Second Amendment rights, those are being chipped out. They want to do these red laws. Well, let me tell you, the criminals aren't going to follow the laws. The law-abiding citizens are. So why are they even wanting to do that and take away our Second Amendment rights? And then third, the government keeps wanting, with this climate control, they want to just keep edging in on our business and putting more mandates on our businesses, and we need to keep the government out of our businesses. I'm going down to City Hall tomorrow if any of you want to join me at 6 o'clock and talk about this, because, they passed October 17th, they passed the CAAP, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's got climate control. And they want to put all these burdens on our businesses. They want to tell our businesses when to pay sick leave. They want to tell, they want to say that, we can't have Chick-fil-A in the airport. They're already being sued, a couple different times and wasting our taxpayer money. So if y'all want to join me there tomorrow, I want to please do. And then if you don't want to talk, just give me your 3 minutes. But, these issues aren't even local issues, and our city council are making them local issues. They're national issues. And our mayor, I don't even know if you know this, but he signed a letter to the president wanting more refugees to San Antonio. Well, our governor sent a letter and said, hey, we don't want any more refugees because the state of Texas has taken in more refugees than all of the other states in the nation. So why do we want more? And, do all of you know that the mayor did that he wants to have more refugees here? And we want to have this is an unofficial sanctuary city, so we harbor illegal aliens if we don't, cooperate with ICE, and we let these illegal aliens murder our college students, and then we have to pay to incarcerate them for a lifetime. All of this is wrong. We need to stand up and, as Fred said, embrace the battle. And we need to wear our Trump hats when we can, and not be afraid that somebody's going to, knock us down. So Anita Kegley, U.S. Congressional District 20. Thank you.
Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Mauro Garza, and I'm also running for the 20th Congressional District. One of my favorite things and reasons that I am proud to be in the GOP, the Republican Party, is because it is based on Judeo-Christian values. I would never, ever, ever approve any legislation that stands in the way of our right to our faith or to worship as we please. I will never support any federal law that is shoving things down our face. That's the kind of congressman you will have in terms of defending our Constitution. I always talk about defending our Constitution, but every time I talk about that, I add something to it. No exception, no excuses. I also will legislate for zero tolerance on illegal immigration and illegal aliens. I will legislate for that. And if you know me or have read up on me, you also see that I am a very, very strong proponent of ending wasteful spending. I will legislate to actually pass a balanced budget amendment. I have many ideas on how to do that. Once again, I'm Mauro Garza. The reason I say these things is because my staff has already said, you say the same thing over and over. You know, tell us something different. No. No, these are my commitments. They are my commitments to you. All right? So, you're talking about somebody like Joaquin Castro, open borders. I was just at the Capitol last week as part of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce delegation. And outside Castro's door is Fighting for Texas Dreamers. You know, great students, great jobs. Well, what about fighting for Texas citizens? What about fighting for our community? Where is he? The truth is, he's nowhere to be found. Although, I hear he's worried. And he better be. Because I'm going to get him. Thank you.
My name's Gary Allen. And they said exactly what I wanted to say, so I don't have to say anything. I'm a career educator. I basically was in high school for 30 years and survived. And a teacher, a principal, assistant principal, and coach. And it was tough. There were a lot of schools I came into that, several schools I came into that I was there to bring it from a failing school to a satisfactory school. And there were some very tough situations that I had to stand for. I was stabbed, I was threatened, my life was assaulted, but I stood my ground. And what does that make me? That makes you a leader. You've got to be tough when the situation is tough out there. We have a great leader in Donald Trump who stands the ground no matter how many times he's attacked. And that's the type of leader I am. I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl for all you ladies. We just came out of the Super Bowl season, and I was very disappointed that Dallas lost. Didn't get a chance to go to the playoffs. But they haven't been in the playoffs in 24 years as far as Super Bowl, and the Kansas City Chiefs have been 50 years. Why is that? Because it's hard. It's hard to win. And those teams that win, they're together, they're united, they're behind their coach, and every one of their team members believe in themselves. A team divided will lose. A house divided cannot stand, and a country divided will fall. We have Obama that spent his time for 8 years going around apologizing for America, whining and crying. Oh, we're so sorry that we did all these things. It was disgusting. It was humiliating. That's not the type of president, and that's not the type of congressman that we need. The immigrants that came over here before 1900, 1800s, 1900s, they were proud to be Americans. They would display the American flag. They would learn the language. They melted into the culture. They were in the melting pot. But what happened this generation? We have a lot of wacko progressive liberals that said, no, we're a salad bowl. Tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, lettuce. That's division, and that's what hurts us. I'm Scottish, and I'm also Hebrew. That's DNA tested. But I don't go around, proclaiming Israel and Scotland, even though I love them. I'm an American first. And that's what we have to have as a congressman that goes up there and fights for you, San Antonians, and Americans. And that's what a congressman has to be, is tough and a leader. Thank you.
Okay, beginning with you, Gary. I'm going to give you some simple questions at first. And so let me ask it. What do you see as the role of a representative to Congress?
The role of, how long do I have? 30 minutes?
3 minutes.
That's very generous of you. The role of a House of Representatives member is unique. That is, they represent a small contingency of people, San Antonio, and they represent the nation. So representative is a very unique position. We have to stand as a member of Congress and stand for bills and laws that help our nation. And we have a congressman up there now that's not doing it, Joaquin Castro. He's only standing for about 10 or 15% of the radical people in San Antonio. And I'm around a lot of Democrats. I come out of a Democratic family. I have to face that a lot. And so to know that you're fighting for not only Republicans, but you're fighting for Democrats. You're fighting for independents. You're fighting for everyone in San Antonio, and that's one thing that Joaquin Castro is not doing. He's only representing a small part of us. So as a House of Representative member, I want to go up there and represent everyone. They may not agree with what I do, but as I said before, being a strong leader, standing up for gun rights, standing against abortion, standing for low taxes, standing for rights in schools, such as school choice. I'm a big proponent of school choice. Standing up for religious freedom. We're in a society that Christians are being attacked daily. We can't have that. We've got to go up there and represent, our Christian faith, and as they mentioned before, Judeo-Christian values, because that's the way our nation was founded. So I think that's what makes us unique. Thank you. Thank you.
The role of a U.S. Congressman is to help and serve. It's not about power and paycheck, which is what we've been seeing up to this point. Yes? I see the role, my role, more in the how. How? The problems we have, all I have to do is knock on a door or sit at a table with you, and we all know what the problems are. Yes? We know what the problems are, and guess what else we know? I guarantee you know how to solve it, right? My role is to do that at the federal level, the how. This is where I believe the business skills will come in. We know how also. My role is how do I get the delegation, how do I get our party with our principles to get that done. That will be my role for you and me and our future generations based on the principles that we have. The time is now. It's now. It is now. We have to think outside the box now, and part of my role, I see in my mind, I'm going in as a consultant to get everything, get people in a pathway on problem-solving skills. The lights are on, but nobody's home, right? And so that is the role that I see that I would undertake for you and us and me.
Okay, when when Congress is in office, they need to represent the American people. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a voice for District 20 in San Antonio. There's approximately 791,000 people, and right now, only 10% of them are voting, and only 10% are being heard. One of the things that I've been trying to do is to rustle up the Christians at the different churches to get out there and vote. And I've been part of the voters registrar delegation to get everybody signed up and get them to the polls. And I know that a lot of you out there are also doing that, and I commend you, because we've got to get as many Christians out there to vote and vote righteous candidates in there. And I don't know, but Joaquin Castro, 100% of the Democrats in Congress voted 80 times, 100% of them, to not have pro-life. They voted for abortion. So we know that he is not representing our districts. The majority of Democrats are Catholics, and why are they voting for him to promote abortion? I don't know. But one of the bills, and I've answered, and I'm sure that we all have answered many questionnaires, but one of the bills, if I'm elected to Congress, or should I say when I'm elected into Congress, the first bill that I want to implement is one that takes out all of Congress that does not support the American flag and the Judeo-Christian Constitution. If they don't believe in those two things, I mean, it's an oath of office that they need to swear to take that. And if they can't do that, if they have a Palestinian flag wrapped around them, you know what? They need to go someplace else. And so I'm going to represent the American people, what's best for the American people and the people in District 20. And that's what I think a congressman's job is to represent everybody's opinion and not the favored few.
So the question is, what
do you see as the role of a representative to Congress?
The role is of a representative to Congress. What I see, of course, is being the local voice. I take everything that I do when I'm looking at a job, and I ask two things. What is expected of me? And then what are the rules that kind of guide what is expected of me? And then what I do is I look at the needs and I fit everything into that box. So I make sure, of course, that I'm following policies and procedures. I make sure that I'm doing my job and then going above and beyond. So although I haven't been elected yet, I already have a list of proposals that I have thought of already to do once I am voted in. And it was very interesting that Mr. Dina had mentioned about the 3 accomplishments of the current office holder, because one interesting fact is that he has been in office 6 years and he has not sponsored one single bill. Not one. And so if we're gonna just say let's look at the freshman Congresswoman AOC. She has been in office less than 2 years, and she has sponsored 8 bills. So we are not even getting our money's worth. So I would propose already. Once I get in office, as through community development and block grants, to fund a district center to help with information on investing solutions and how to keep your home. The investing solutions, if we look at Medicare, one of the main problems with allowing us to take Medicare and invest is the Democrats say, don't touch Medicare because they'll lose their money. So the investment piece will allow us to understand that, and nobody can say they don't understand it and they'll lose their money. I have a couple of other bills, sponsor bill focusing on retirement savings, a bill that allows for employees to keep their 401k, that it follows them so it does not get lost by a third-party administrator. Also to sponsor a bill relating to foreign aid. Any country that burns the American flag or uses language like death to America will no longer receive any funding from America. So I ask you to look at my flyer because I am looking forward. Thank you.
When we go to Congress, the Congress makes the laws, changes the laws, fixes inequalities and inequities. We have to stand up for the people. So for the United States, the first thing that a congressman does is America first. And if you're from Texas, it's Texas first. You look after Texas because that's what you represent. I was asked earlier in an interview, who are you going to work with when you go to Congress? I said, I don't know. Who's going to be the Texas delegation? We won't know until after November. I'll work with each and every man and woman that represents Texas because that's what we are elected to do. Now truly, represent Bexar County also, which is half of the city of San Antonio and some of the other suburbs. That's a true statement. What we're supposed to do is do what is right for America first. And one of the things that kind of rubs me the wrong way is when people say, well, I'm going to balance the budget. Well, that's a bunch of phooey, because anybody that knows about the United States government, you know we run on debt. The last time, I believe, the United States government did not have any debt was something like 1803. That was the last time, ladies and gentlemen. So in our lifetime, we're not going to see that. We're not going to see a balanced budget because everything costs more tomorrow than it does today. And you learn that in your economics classes. Today's dollar is less expensive than tomorrow's dollar. So I'm not going to stand up here and make a bunch of promises. What I am going to say is America first. What's good for America generally is good for the rest of the world. And we need to continue to keep countries like Iraq and North Korea boxed in. We have to do that. They are a cancer on the world, and we have to control them. We have to make sure that the negative impact on America and on the world, our allies, is minimalized. I will not stand up here and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because you all know if I get elected, and I hope I do, God's will, if I get elected, I'll be one of 435 other members. We have to build coalitions. I have to work with fellow Republicans, independents, and some Democrats that have a modicum of common sense. I plan on taking common sense and being the adult in Congress and working hard on your behalf because I'm second as a representative. You're first, I'm second, I got that, and that is my pledge to you. Thank you.
Okay, this question is either 1, 2, 3, or 4. But you're going to tell us what it is. Please don't try to define it. Just tell us who you are. Let me ask the question. Are you a social conservative, a physical conservative, fiscal, both or neither? And number 4, if neither, what are you? So tell us who you are.
Well, I'm an American.
1 minute.
1 minute. I'm an American. I can say that for a minute, and I think you'll appreciate that. I am a fiscal conservative. I am the president of my homeowners association. I have a whole bunch of people that count on me to balance their budget every year. As a matter of fact, we do that. I'm proud of that. I want to do that in government. I don't want to waste money. In my 30 years in the Air Force, I saw a lot of waste. My friends were there with me. They saw waste. That's wrong. Your tax dollars should never be wasted. I'm a fiscal conservative, and my voice is starting to go, so forgive me. But I will stand by you to make sure that your dollars are not wasted. They're too precious. Thank you.
I'd like to say that I am a fiscal conservative. I have to work on a budget all the time. with my family and our needs, which is why when I look at the government and I see the excess, I am totally confused. I am not a person who likes to live or be told to do something when the other person isn't willing to do the same thing. When I work with other companies as their administrator, I am in charge of profit and loss, and I have to be physically conservative with their money when I am doing the budget, when I am ordering supplies, when we're taking care of patients. So everything is about balancing. I live my life that way, and I guarantee you, if somebody throws a penny out in the street, I will pick it up, put a cross on it, and say, "Thank you, Jesus."
What's number 4?
Okay. Social conservative, fiscal conservative, both or neither. If neither, what are you?
If neither, what I am. I think I'm both. But I'll tell you, with one of the questionnaires that I answered, and one of the other ladies had asked me earlier if I was a conservative or moderate or whatever, and I think I'm very conservative, but after I answered my question, the Republican group that asked me said that I'm a moderate, so who knows?
I am definitely a fiscal conservative. Did you want us to elaborate, or?
No, just
Well, I'm number 3, fiscal conservative and social conservative. Being a Christian and standing for moral turpitude, and also in fiscal, low taxes, watching the money that we're spending as a government. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so here's the next question, 1 minute to answer. When you are elected, how accessible will you be to those of us here in Texas?
Well, you'll never be able to reach my office. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, we got that here.
I know you do. That's one thing that I, as a principal and as a leader, that's one thing that's totally necessary, that you can get through, that you do represent the people. And we do have a congressman that does not. So yes, I think that's very important to be accessible to your people in San Antonio, whether you agree or disagree with them. So yes, I agree with that. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how the structure is as far as if you can have a couple of staff and so forth, but I definitely will instruct that staff that the people are first. I have cards with my cell number on there, my email address, and I definitely want to know what everybody wants to talk about. No questions asked. I hear a lot about, right now, the current congressman, you can't get to him. This is an elitist type of personality, I guess. But just be sure that you know that I will be open. I will go back to the neighborhoods that I represent and ask questions, and I will go to you when I say I tried to do this, but I couldn't. And that way I can sleep good at night.
Okay, I am another one that I have put my personal cell phone on every business card and all my flyers, and I am totally accessible, and I always return my phone calls. So I'm out there, and I also have my address, my email address on there, and I try to answer every single email that I get. So I would think that I'm totally accessible.
As a representative, of course, my intention is always to be accessible to anyone that I am representing. As a nurse, I am accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on weekends, all the time. They have my number. So I'm very used to being reached by many, many people all the time. And I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I like that when someone has a need, that they reach out to me, that they think about me to be able to help them solve their issues.
a representative represents the people. The people of District 20 will have a representative, should I be elected, that will hold town hall meetings during the 45-day summer break that Congress is given. During this past summer, I didn't even know our congressman was in town until I saw him on TV sitting on a panel, looking all congressional. Why weren't we having town halls? Why weren't we invited? Why isn't there a newsletter? Why doesn't he use the email? Oh, he does use the email. When he sends me an email, it says, send me money. He doesn't send me an email when it's about issues or reaching out and asking you questions. I will be responsive, I will make myself accessible, and I will try to have a district office that's centrally located in the district to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Okay, let's broaden the reach of the question. So you got a minute to answer. If Trump declared war with Iran or any other country for a good cause, would you back him?
As a member of Congress, that's one of the heaviest responsibilities that anyone would ever have to face. As a former member in the Air Force, I know what it is like to lose people when you're on active duty. Our children, our moms and dads are too important to take that type of action lightly. When the President of the United States brings that to Congress, he or she has already looked at the issue. They have all the information available because we have the best intelligence in the world. If the President comes to us, I would have to agree, especially with a country like North Korea or Iraq, as goes back to my previous statement. Thank you.
As a veteran myself, I believe supporting our troops is very important. I believe that we have to take into account what an action does to our families and to our troops. But I also believe that this is not something that is taken lightly. So when it comes for Congress to decide on whether we should go to war or not, of course, they have already taken a look at the pros and cons. I would have to take that information, and I definitely would side with the President of the United States currently, because I have not found any issue that he has done wrong to this point. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to echo what they said. I would support the president because we have the best intelligence, and we know, or he should know the issues and be advised of the issues, and if he says that we need to do, then I think we should do it. But I will tell you that I did receive in the mail a form that said, you know, do you support the president if he declares war, and do you think that Congress should make that call or the president? And right now, my feeling is mixed on that because we have so many people in Congress that don't support the American flag. And, you know, the number one threat to America right now is to not live under Islamic laws. And we have Congress people that are going to vote against that, regardless if it's necessary or not. So I have mixed issues, but I do support the president 100%.
The price of our freedom requires constant vigilance. That somebody quoted that. That would be a very deep and very trying decision. But I believe Congress, I would think the question is, should Trump ask Congress to declare war? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If Trump declared war with Iran or any other country for a good cause, would you back him?
I would.
There are laws concerning this, and Congress is the only one that can declare war. But there are some cases, such as in the case of a terrorist that you must take down, just as Trump has done, that is necessary to do. So it's kind of a two-pronged question. Congress and the president needs to work together with something like that. But there are too many people in Congress now that are too weak. They won't take a stand, and they want to spend a whole bunch of time thinking about war. And personally, I'm against endless wars. I think that we should get out of the Middle East They spent way too much time in it and trillions of dollars. And we need to protect Israel and get out of there and let the Sunnis and the loonies and the Shiites and the Kurds all fight it out because they've done it for centuries. So war is for Congress to decide, but the president has to make tough decisions. Thank you.
All right, so some want to force American children in U.S. schools to study subjects like LGBT, Muslim faith, or Eastern religions. Where do you stand on this?
How long?
1 minute.
Being through the education system for 30 years, I saw some of the shocking textbooks that came through that I had to vote on, and they were shocking. Changing of history, changing of our moral values, and that's why I'm against Common Core from the federal government, because they will take the federal government's feelings about morality and history down to the local level, and that's what we do not need. So I personally, because of Christian standards, I am not a supporter of the LGBT community, but I am somebody who will support civil rights for all people, no matter who they are. So it is one of those mixed things that you have to stand on your Christian principles. We are a Judaic-Christian nation, and we should remain that way. So I am against some of these loose teachings that are coming down from the federal government. Thank you.
I am certainly not for the cancel culture, nor this identity politics that seems to be coming up. Absolutely not support this type of stuff. It goes to the very beginning that I said defending our Constitution and our Texas values. I'm going to repeat it again. No excuses, no exception. And these are excuses and exceptions.
Okay, Fred, I'm sorry to ask you. There was the LBGT and Muslim, and what was the third thing?
Some want to force American children in U.S. schools to study subjects like LGBT, Muslim faith, and other Eastern religions. What is your position?
Okay, I am against 7-year-olds being taught how to put a condom on. I am totally against it. And I really think that we shouldn't let our children, I mean, that's really something to me that should be addressed at home. And as far as Muslims, I don't have anything against Muslims, but I do have an issue, you know, when we have schools that build Muslims prayer rooms, but yet we can't take a Bible there and pray. I have a real issue. So, anyway, so I'm against LGBT, and I think that we should know about the Muslims and Islam and how horrible they are.
Ladies and gentlemen, our schools are used as hubs to force us to fund illegal immigration through our taxes, alternate lifestyles, and abortion. Planned Parenthood has infiltrated our schools. And up the road, we have, in the Austin Independent School District, this coming year, 7-year-olds being taught transgenderism. We need to take our schools back, and we need to do that by stopping the funding mechanism. We have to cut off the head of the snake, stop the funding, and follow the voucher system where our money follows us and our values to a system that supports us. Thank you.
The simple answer to the LGBT question is no, not in schools. It has no place there because it is not something of the ordinary. It is outside the norm. I have nothing against people that are in the community. However, it doesn't belong in schools, nor does that type of sex education, nor does Muslim religion belong in our schools. If you want to go to study Muslim religion, that's fine. You can go to a Muslim school. If you want to study Christianity, go to a Christian school. It's up to you. We have choices. We should not be force-fed information that our children don't need at a very tender age. As I have said before, I'm a proponent of doing away with the Department of Education because of what they have done to us. We were #1 in the world in education. We fell to 17th, and the last time I looked, we were like 24. It's because the Department of Education and their progressive socialist agenda, along with Planned Parenthood, whom we need to take all the money away from, out of our federal budget, have put us in this pickle. It didn't happen overnight, and it won't be fixed overnight, but we have to take action today. Thank you.
Okay, this question is a yes or no question. Okay? Where do you stand on the issue of school choice? Do you support it or you don't? School choice. School choice.
I believe we live in a free community, a free society. If you want to send your children, and remember the old days, the kids would go to Catholic school, they turned out pretty darn well, okay? There is nothing wrong with school choice. If you want to teach your child at home, that's up to you. As long as they're learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, because those are the skills that we all need to survive. I taught criminal justice when I was an adjunct faculty member. And when you study criminal justice, you find out that the majority of the people that are locked up in prisons don't speak English, can't read and write. That's part of the reason why they ended up in prison, because they were trying to survive. Now, you may not agree with that, but the studies prove that to be true. So what should we be doing in prisons? Teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, so when they get out of prison, they can be then a member of society. So school choice, I'm behind that, and again, I would like to set down the Department of Education as it exists today. Thank you.
I am definitely for school choice. I believe that, again, the voucher system would be effective in allowing us to take our money that we have through property taxes afforded to our children and move that to whatever school we choose. Thank you.
I am for school choice. And in 1966, when they took prayer out of school, the SAT scores plummeted. It wasn't until Christian schools or religious schools started forming that the SAT scores started going back up again. So I think that and I'm glad that President Trump signed an executive order to put prayer back in school. I am just so thankful for that. So maybe that will help.
I am for school choice for all the reasons you heard and more.
You think I'd be for school choice? Of course. I'm an educator, and I spent a lot of time through the years advocating for school choice and for local control of our schools. That's why I said Common Core, which comes from the federal government and from the Department of Education, is being pushed upon local schools, and we need to stop that. School choice is what we need in order to help scores go up and children to learn the local values of their communities. We don't need New Yorkers or LA or Los Angeles administrators and politicians telling San Antonians what is good and what is not, what is moral and what is historic. We need to stop that. It needs to be local. Thank you.
Okay. Where do you stand on the issue of abortion? How would you legislate a change?
Well, Dominic and myself are always answering the question first. So we have disadvantage, right? Abortion, how long? 1 minute?
1 minute.
Okay. In 1973, we have Roe versus Wade. Norma McCorvey was the woman, Jane Roe. She wanted an abortion, and Texas wouldn't let her have one, so she took it to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that they did not want to invade on a woman's privacy. But they also ruled that it should be used sparingly and with great concern, we'll say, for the woman's health. What happened? Warren Burger was the Chief Justice, and the rest of the justices that had died since then, they would turn over in their graves if they see what's happened to Roe versus Wade. The liberals have taken it all the way to third trimester and even after birth. They'll take a mile when you give them an inch. I think that we need to start standing up on abortion and get rid of it in the Supreme Court. Thank you.
I think we need to overturn Roe versus Wade, along with a couple of other things that have been out. Again, it's the sanctity of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Again, I repeat this every single time as part of defending our constitutional values and our Texan values. To me, abortion is murder. Even if you are a bit of a science person, you know that a conception that is a life beginning, you must nourish it. We're not God, only God creates. And so that's where I stand with that.
As you can tell from my sign, I'm pro-life. It's right there on there. You don't have to ask any questions. I am definitely pro-life, and life begins when a baby is conceived. And in the Bible, it even says that before it's even conceived, God knows that person and that child. So I am definitely pro-life.
I am, of course, against abortion, and I think we need to stop using their language. It is not abortion, it is killing babies. That's why I'm completely against killing babies. Now, how would I proceed to be effective in dealing with that? My plan is to get rid of the Title 10 program. The Title 10 is put aside for planning, for family planning. Last budget, we gave $60 million to that fund, and with that fund, it funds Planned Parenthood. So with that $60 million, Planned Parenthood killed over 324,000 babies. How do I propose to get rid of it? I propose to take that money from the Title 10 program and send it to another place. I would use that money to fund the disability, the people on disability. That way we can take the people that are on disability off the Medicare funds and into their own funding platform. I believe that's a start, and then we can go forward from there.
This is one of those questions where you draw the line in the sand. Abortion is murder. Life begins at conception. Thou shalt not kill. There is no argument with the Lord. That is what He has taught us. That's what we must stand for. The way we do away with abortion in America is take the money away. Take the funding away from Planned Parenthood at the federal level. That will help dry that up. We must stand together, and we must remember that on average, since Roe v. Wade, 3,000 abortions occur every day. 9/11, we lost 3,000 people. That means every day, since 1973, Roe v. Wade, we have another 9/11. That is the consequences of our inactions. And you need somebody in Congress that will stand up and tell them which way the wind blows. Thank you.
Okay, Gary reminded me of something very important. At that point, you're going one first, and it makes it a little more difficult. So I'm going to adjust. Would you take this next question? And you have 1 minute. Now you're on the hot seat. What are your thoughts on immigration? 1 minute.
Immigration. I definitely believe in security and the border wall. Now, there's a lot of people that stand up and say, we believe in securing the United States. And I will tell you that I am one person who definitely believes in securing our borders. When I was about 15 years old, I was attacked by an illegal immigrant, and I almost died. I almost lost my life at 15 years of age. I can tell you that that person never went to prison, never served time. He was given a come back and see me in a month and never returned. So when it comes to illegal immigration, believe me when I tell you, I stand here today saying that I will protect our borders, that if someone is going to be here, we are going to know who it is, and nobody is going to walk around our community looking to hurt our children. Nobody's going to hurt my children. Thank you.
I am against illegal immigration. And right now our city is an unofficial sanctuary city, which I am going to be speaking at City Council tomorrow about. We need to, and there's another bill in Congress right now, and I forget the name of it, but it's a bill that's going to let illegals extend their criminal time 5 years, and that they get free everything, and they get free education, and free this, and free this. And I'm like, okay, well, the Americans, we don't get all that free. Why should they? People died so that we can have this freedom and get these benefits. Why should we give them to people that aren't even Americans? I'm totally against it.
I believe in legal immigration, and I have many friends that are legal immigrants, become citizens of the United States. I believe that I should legislate for zero tolerance on illegal immigration and illegal aliens. I believe we need a plan to readjust or change some of the immigration laws and many other things. There are ways to plan should we have issues come up with immigration. Okay, what's wrong with this? You get here to the country, we've got buses, we've got airplanes. I think we need to take back to the country they're from and look at what kind of funding they get and start working on that. I'm sorry about the phone.
I think that Joaquin Castro has a problem with what is immigration and what is illegal immigration. He tends to conflate those two. Immigrants legally coming in are accepted through the door. They're invited. Illegal immigrants kick in the back door and break in the back windows. We need to stop that. Texas spends $10 to $15 billion a year on illegal immigrants. United States spends $50 to $75 billion a year on illegal immigrants. That money could go for low income. That money could go for homeless veterans, infrastructure, but we're spending it all on people that are cutting and cheating to come across the border. I believe we need a border wall, better technology, more border agents. We have to stop this problem because in 1986, Ronald Reagan passed the Control Act that let 3 million immigrants, illegal immigrants, have amnesty. And I said then, you're going to destroy our immigration system if you continue with this, and that's what's happened. We've got to stop it. Thank you.
Could you pass the mic? We've got one to answer. I'm not going to forget. No, pass it this way. Thank you.
I certainly support immigration, legal immigration. Otherwise, I couldn't have been here because that's how Grandpa got here from Sicily at the beginning of the last century. I strongly oppose illegal immigration. We're in a pickle because the people, the Republicans, that we sent to Congress didn't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up against the Democrats, and rather than be statesmen, they wanted to play politician. Enough is enough. We're done with that. What we need to do is say, we need to fix it. We need border security. I support the president. We need to have more border patrol. We need to have more funding there. We need to have a heart and have empathy for people who want to come here, even though they're trying to come here illegally. We have to say, no, sorry, send them back to Mexico is a good plan. The United States is a lifeboat. The United States has capacity. If we just let everybody rush us, we will capsize. We must stand strong on this issue.
Okay, on the subject of birth control, do you object to businesses being forced by law to provide birth control to their employees? Example, the Little Sisters of Charity were subjected to legal pressure to provide birth control at their hospital. What laws should be passed to prevent such legal pressure?
Well, let me tell you, this is one of those issues where the government is trying to tell us how to do our business, and I am totally against it. You know, if in a church or a business, I believe that a business should run their business according to their beliefs. And if they don't want to make a wedding cake for a gay couple, I think it's their right to not. And I feel sorry for the couple that's being sued because they didn't want to do it. I think that there's other companies out there that could have made that cake for them. So why don't they just go to another company? And I just think that, you know, this is an issue where the government is forcing the Catholic school or whatever it is to use birth control, and it's really none of their business, and they shouldn't be demanding this type of legislation to do that. And I would be totally against all of that, and I really think that businesses and churches should practice their own faith and do as they believe.
Well, golly, she said it. I feel the same way as Anita on that, but I also feel that businesses should not be told where to donate their money as well, who to serve. They can decide that on their own. It's a free enterprise system. It's the most compassionate system in the world. So just because this business didn't want to make you a cake, well, hey, there's other businesses that can make you even a better cake if you want to do that. But this thing about the government getting into again into our constitutional rights is what we have to continue to fight. So I'm totally against businesses being made to pay for things of that nature that infringe on our religious rights.
Yeah, the government's too big already, and the Democrats are trying to make it bigger. That's the problem. They interfere in our personal lives, our religious freedoms, our gun rights, every right that they can get their sticky little fingers in, that's what they're going to do. You notice on my card, it says I'm against big government, I'm anti-big government, and this is what the other side wants to do. They want to expand big government to tell you that you have to buy condoms for certain people in your group. You have to do this. You can't suck out of straws in restaurants. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, thank you.
Dominic?
No, absolutely not. I feel so bad whenever we have this in the news where somebody is being legislated into taking an action that goes against their morals. What the heck's gone on in America to where we're telling people what they should do and when they should do it? That is not America. We have freedom of choice in our country. Once again, these are people that are being elected and they're playing politicians and they're trying to snuggle up with the people that support them, and money talks. We need statesmen. We do not need politicians who are trying to please everybody all the time. Guess what? Statesmen aren't going to make you happy all the time. Sometimes you have to be told what's in your best interest. Do we like that? No, we do not. However, if you think about it, it's a truism. We have to stand for everybody's equal rights equally. And for the government to tell people what to do, as in this instance that was posed in the question, is absolutely wrong. Thank you.
I'm completely against it. It is called freedom of choice. Not only is it freedom of choice, but small businesses and businesses in general, we are a capitalistic system, and the reason we are that way and we profit and we grow is because every business sets itself up to do business how they want to do business. And if you don't like how they do business, then go somewhere else. And the people are going to make the money who have the most business. And that's just the way it is. So for us to impose on small business or business of any type and detail how they should transact business and what they should give to their employees or not, and then go against their moral values, I am completely against.
Mauro? You got the hot seat now.
Finally.
Okay. What is your opinion about term limits for congressional representatives and senators?
Is that all you got?
Bring it.
Well, I signed a pledge, and I'm recorded at a national level term limits. So that's my position.
Okay.
Okay?
Tomorrow I signed the same pledge. And on my card it says the same thing. I'm against congressmen and congresswomen being up there for 20 and 30 years, become corrupted and become rich. We need term limits in Congress. Thank you.
Yes, I support term limits. I've said so before. I'll say it again throughout the entire election cycle. Term limits are needed because we're human beings, and when people get close to power, it's like the moth and the flame. It can hurt you. It can turn you. People say, oh, you go to Washington, you're going to be a different person. A lot of people, that's true. But if you have a strong moral core, if you believe in God and the good word, then you can withstand being around evil and evil influences. Trust me, I know. I was a cop in the Air Force and I was around a lot of evil influences because that's what cops have to put up with. And there's some other police officers in this room. And you can maintain your core value and stand up against the evil that is there and resist the temptation. So term limits are necessary. Just don't ask me to tell you what numbers I believe in because I don't know what would be proper off the top of my head. Thank you.
I definitely support term limits. I believe term limits decrease the risk of corruption, being around a lot of power and money. I think recently there was, going back to the Ukraine fiasco, right? It is found that $1.8 billion of our money was sent over to Ukraine. 1.8 billion. Guys, I have to work 2 jobs sometimes to make ends meet, and Congress is not doing what they're supposed to and oversighting this. That $1.8 billion got from our country to another country to support something that we don't even know about. Term limits, definitely.
I am also against term limits, and I really think that if Congress would be transparent about all the meetings that they have and all the deals that they do, that it would be great that we could see everything that's going on and not all the backroom deals that are being done. So term limits is definitely, I don't know, like Dominic said, I'm not for sure what terms, 4 to 6 years or whatever, but we definitely need them.
Very good. Jared? Okay, back to hot seat. Okay, although we would need a convention of states to repeal an amendment, explain your position on repeal of the 17th Amendment and how this would affect the states.
Tell us what it is.
What is 17th Amendment?
Right, this question is about the
What
7th.
is the 17th Amendment?
Yes, sir.
And you want to go to Congress,
Okay, I don't know the 17th Amendment. Tell me what it is.
where we change the election of senators from being appointed by the state legislature to being elected by popular vote.
So this is a federal question? I
Yes.
mean, of course, it's going to be constitutional.
Yes, this is about the ability to change the Constitution,
Okay.
right? Given to the people.
Okay.
And through the Constitution of states. We have that right in the Constitution. Where do you stand?
Well, the state should have the right. I mean, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I agree with that. Does that make me a bad congressman if I go there because I didn't know that?
No,
No, it doesn't. And there's plenty of them that don't know.
absolutely.
So, anyway, I'm going to be a little fighter on this because none of these people know everything up here. Okay? None of them. So, that one thing that's important is to learn where you stand. And if something like that comes up, that's what I'm going to investigate. So, I'm sorry if I didn't know that question. That's my answer.
Well, it's real easy to say if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And off the top of my head, I don't have a good answer for this question. I'm speaking the truth. Not everybody can stand up here and be on the dime and be at their best all the time. That's true. It takes thoughtful consideration. However, if anybody wants to ask me, should we have a popular vote versus the Electoral College, we have to stick with the Electoral College. Because otherwise, the East and the West Coast are going to tell everybody else what to do. Do I support having a constitutional convention to change our form of government, meaning the Constitution? Absolutely. Again, it's not broke, so we don't have to fix it. That's the way freedom works. We speak what we want to do, and then the majority rules in that instance, meaning the majority of the states, not necessarily the majority of the population. Thank you.
Well, I have to say that although I have a broad base of knowledge on topics, the 17th Amendment I am not personally familiar with. Constitutional Convention, yes, I do understand it takes a Constitutional Convention to make amendments to the Constitution, if that's what we're referring to. Again, if it's not broke, we don't need to fix it. I don't think there's anything at this time and point that we need to change. I do agree with the Electoral College instead of the popular vote, only because most people that vote on both coasts vote for the popular vote. I mean, if we were going with the popular vote, then I guess Hillary would have won. So there you go.
Okay, my understanding of the 17th Amendment is that it's never been implemented in the history of the United States. And I really think that it needs to be there because it does allow the states, if they are unhappy with Congress, to get together and do something. So I think we need to keep it as is, and if we ever need to use it, that it's available for us. But I have to tell you, I can't imagine the majority of the states getting together and agreeing on something. So, getting happen.
Because there's only 2 senators per state, I really like the way it's happening right now. And so I would have to see what is driving other states to want to change that. And again, if it has anything to do with something popular vote versus the Electoral College, we do not want any of that to happen. We need the Electoral College to stay in place. But I like the way especially in Texas, because you've got rural, you've got urban, and sometimes there's differences there, so we have to, I do like the way the senators are being elected at this time, especially since there's only 2 per state. So.
Excuse me, I have to apologize to the candidates because normally when I have a forum, I give them the questions in advance. And this time I wanted to try having the questions from the audience. So they weren't prepared for this question, but anyway, I just, I have to apologize to the candidates. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Oh, no problem.
We still love you. Okay, who's next? It's first.
Hot seat, and I got
Hot seat, right. Let's bring it to Dominic. Okay, we're running out of time now, so what I'm going to suggest is that we'll do maybe a couple of questions and then close. If you have additional questions, then stop the candidates and ask them, and they'll be happy to answer the question. So, what is your definition of marriage?
Again, going back to core values, for me the definition of marriage is between one man and one woman. So saith the Lord. That's in our Bible, that's what I believe. I am not against people that don't follow that thought, that belief. If you want to live some other type of a lifestyle, that's between you and God. That's between you and God, and the government doesn't need to stick their nose in our business. All right? I will never accept a marriage unless it is between a man and a woman. Anything else is something else, call it what you will. I cannot support it. And going back to the last question, if anybody here thinks that all of us have all the answers, you're very wrong, because we don't. But I thank you for asking hard questions and not throwing any softballs.
As a Catholic, excuse me, marriage is between a man and a woman. Again, alternate lifestyles, how someone lives their life. Excuse me, I apologize. That is between them. But marriage is between a man and a woman. Thank you.
I agree with the other two that marriage is between a man and a woman, but I have no issues with anybody else and how they live their life. And I just want to clarify one other comment that I made earlier about Muslims. I have nothing against Muslims, but I do have everything against Islam.
As a Jew, marriage is between a man and a woman. I would not be here if my parents weren't married, and that's also a spiritual thing. It's also something very private and personal. Marriage, as defined in our faiths, and that's what I believe, and will always believe that.
Marriage between a man and a woman is biblically based, and that's where I take my template from as far as life is concerned. I follow the Bible and what it teaches in the moral guide that we have. Yes, there are other people that don't believe that, and that's their choice. That's between them and God. But on a national level, or on a state level, or a legal level, it's only between a man and a woman, and I would stand on that in Congress as well. Thank you.
All right, final question. In David Barton's book, America to Pray or Not to Pray, he lays out a case to support prayer in public schools. Public schools had the children say a prayer at the start of the school until 1963, when prayer was outlawed by the liberal Supreme Court. The prayer was a bland prayer that asked God's blessing on four things: us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. It went something like this: Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence on Thee, and we beg Thy blessings upon us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. For some reason, this was outlawed and was an outstanding decline in four areas. So the question is, what laws could be passed to get prayer back into public schools? And secondly, should this be a states' right issue or a federal government initiative?
I believe that our president has already taken care of one of those issues where he has mandated that prayer be brought back into school. I believe that our country was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and just like we put our hand over our heart and pledge allegiance to the flag, I believe that is a foundational piece, and I believe that prayer is also a foundational piece. And I believe that it should be a federal piece as well. I believe that is something that we can all, on a state level, come to agreement as how we can place it in. but I believe that it should be federally mandated, and I believe as a foundation, we should continue the foundation of our country. We start chipping away at that, we start losing our country.
When prayer was taken out of school in the 1960s, it was a few people that raised a lot of noise. And this just goes back to, I'm for building up America again, respecting our flag, creating an environment where our kids, our children can feel safe and excel. And if they have prayer in school, and it doesn't have to be a Jewish prayer or a Baptist prayer or a Catholic prayer, it could be all of those prayers, but all of those will be encouraging and positive and help those students excel and feel comfortable in the surroundings. So I'm totally for prayer in school.
It's one reason I agree with Dominique about eliminating the Department of Education. You have somebody in a suit telling us how we should educate our children, but I also think we need to send the money to the states. And for sure, not the federal government really needs to stay out of our God. Sorry. None of this needs to be federally mandated. It needs to be removed from the federal government and gone to the states. Now, and that way, we should let the schools, without any stipulation of this government money for education that we do need, and take it back to the communities. They decide how to educate our children, if that means, and that should mean that God should be in there. And that's what I think.
Man, I must have an advantage being an educator because I've dealt with all these things over the years. And whether you believe it or not, a lot of schools do the prayer anyway. They do it. It's just when somebody sues you, that's where the problem starts. I do believe that prayer should be in public schools. Ronald Reagan kind of brought it back, and Madeleine Murray O'Hare, what happened to her? She got cut up, burned, and put in a barrel and buried. That's what her life ended up as. Not that that's great for her, but you know, these type of hateful people that want to remove God from our government and God from our schools, well, what does the money say? In God we trust. And the founding fathers have it in the Constitution and the Declaration. In God we trust. And we should be able to say simple prayers at least in school. Thank you.
The federal government has taken too much authority over the states and taken it away from the states, and by saying that you can't pray in school, I think was a terrible mistake. As I mentioned earlier to some people, you can eat a whole pie, but you have to do it a piece at a time, a bite at a time, right? So the people that want to dismantle the United States, our country, they're doing it a brick at a time. Every little bit, such as taking prayer out of the schools, hurts us. It erodes our core values. The federal government, as a statesman, as a legislator, on your behalf, I would challenge that law and try to get it overturned, and I believe that's a states' rights issue. I'm sure there's some states that would agree and say no prayer, and that's up to them. See how many people leave that state and come to Texas. Because we believe in prayer, because God is number one. Without God, we wouldn't be here, and prayer is essential, in my opinion, and this law is wrong, so I would propose legislation. Thank you.
All right, for the closing statements, you've got 2 minutes and you decide what you want to say. We'd like to hear what your #1 legislative priority would be for CD20. And there's no hot seat here, so you could just take it. So this is closing, two minutes for your closing. But if you could throw it in there, what is your #1 legislative priority for CD20? Legislative priority. Go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Dominic Dina. I'm asking for your support. My legislative priority for Bexar County and for Texas is infrastructure. We have an aging infrastructure. The last time they were given a a grade by the American Society of Civil Engineers. We were given a D. That's terrible. What happens if the streets and the roads and the bridges fall down? What is that going to do to your economy? What's that going to do to your job? That's going to have an impact locally. It'll have an impact on Texas and the entire nation. So infrastructure and talking about it is like watching paint dry. It's not a lot of fun. It's not sexy. But you know what? It's really important to our economy. I want to do what is right for Bexar County and for Texas and for the nation. I want to stand up for our values. I want to represent you. I want to be a voice for you. I am not going to take stuff off of anybody. I don't care who they are. And I will not sit down and be quiet. Because as a representative, it's my job to represent you, your ideas, your beliefs, your wants, your druthers. This is Texas. Texas stands for what is right. Texas stands for the underdog. I will stand with Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas, and I will stand with each and every one of you. I'm asking for your support. My name is Dominic Dina, and I thank you, and may God bless you all.
Well, as I said earlier, I have a list of objectives, and this is just a start, guys. This is just me understanding the community and what I want to bring to the table right away. One of them, of course, is to sponsor a bill to decrease the federal deficit by reworking the penny plan, in which 1 cent of every dollar in the budget goes to decrease the deficit. According to the last budget, if we were to do that, that decrease would equal $47 billion, and that's just in the first budget year. I believe that there are already things in place that we can take and bring to our community, such as block grants. So I already have ideas of how to start in the community. And ideas how to move forward. What I want to say is, when we're up here, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the candidates up here. We are all good, strong, Republican American candidates, right? Your decision is not to just put someone against Castro. It is to choose the right person, the person that is going to allow us to flip the district. Now, the district is a large district, and it runs south, and it runs west, and it runs north. I want to say that you need to take a look at each of the candidates, not just what we have presented today, but look at our history, look at things that you might have missed. You don't want to go like the voter in Iowa who voted and cast her vote for someone and then decided, oh, I want to take it back. We cannot take it back. This is too important. We need to flip the district, and I want to tell you that the district is a component of 52% Republican, 43% Democrat. You have to either get every single Republican out there, or you need to transition some votes, and I am the best candidate to be able to allow you to transition those votes. Thank you.
Okay, I think I mentioned earlier about the #1 bill that I would implement, and that is to get everyone out of Congress that is not for the American flag and is not for the American people. And so that would be the #1 bill. The #2 bill that I would institute would be to declare CAR, or CARE, however you want to pronounce it, as a Muslim terrorist group. A lot of Congress, I've written them and asked them why they don't vote for the American people, and why do they let people in there that don't support the American flag. And what I found out, I mean, they said, well, somebody voted them in, so that's why they get to vote. But the oath of office in Congress is to represent the American people, the American flag. They don't need to be in there, so we need to get them out. So that's what I want to go to Congress for. And I want to represent Congressional District 20, because we are not being represented. Castro does not represent me, and I don't think he represents any of these candidates up there. So I will just ask you to pray for the best candidate to be elected, the one that's going to be able to do the best and represent us. And that's who I think we should vote for.
The number one legislative priority will begin by asking you to think outside the box. It is going to be a very, very important decision who you choose on March 3rd. Extremely important. The first thing we need to do, whomever you choose on March 1st, is prioritize the 90 or so precincts that do not have a precinct chair. We'll have 8 months from March to November to put in a precinct chair in the precincts that do not have a GOP precinct chair. We have to start thinking about the long game. And just think about the short-term game. I am blessed and very lucky to have had hit and answered and knocked on at least 11,000 doors. And we continue to do so. After March 4th, the person you select better start hitting the other 80,000 doors that need to be hit. And they have 8 months to do it. So I think a very important thing is to flip it. We have got to start talking flipping. Okay, you have to know the radical progressives playbook and beat them at that. So it's a very important thing to do that. We need to change the narrative in the district to be able to get to DC and start making those legislative priorities that we're all talking about. But we have to think as visionaries. So I would humbly ask for your support and to be able to do that. We've started since October and we're going to continue.
Well, the number one thing that I would try to represent is just conservative values. There's too many problems we have in Congress, and we need somebody there strong. And that's what we have to do. And I'm that person with leadership abilities, a very big mouth, very assertive, and that's the type of person we need in Washington, D.C. I went to a Castro rally on Sunday, and I was the only one there. And we caused some problems. And I was afraid to go there because I thought I might get beat up. And I got a lot of fingers, you know, like your number one finger stuck at me and called all kinds of names. But I was willing to stand in the fray, to stand against Joaquin Castro and what he represents. And like Mauro said, we've got to flip these independents. We've got to flip a lot of people in order to win. And I think that we can. We just got to have a loud voice and be united. I don't want to go to Congress in order to Congress to be corrupted. I don't want to go to Congress to be rich or famous. I want to go to Congress to represent San Antonio, the people, the hard-working people like me, that I lived on a paycheck basis, and that's the type of people I stand for. People that wear jeans, middle Americans, hard-working men and women. So we need some type of hero to go to Congress. That's all I need, 30 seconds. I think we need superheroes. And so I tell you today, I want to go to Congress to be a loud voice, fight these people, stand up against them, and support Donald Trump in all of his agenda. I want to be your Captain America.
All right, folks.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for coming tonight. Patty, did you have another announcement?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Remember something. Every single one of these candidates are investing time and money and effort and making sacrifice on their families and their jobs, and every one of them deserve a loud clap and thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, candidates. Thank you, Fred, for moderating for me. I thank you, everybody, for coming. please, please vote, and please inform other people in CD20. Tell them what you heard tonight. Just volunteer for them, help them get elected. You know, if you have your favorite, help them out with blog walking, phone banking, passing out literature, whatever. Everybody needs a hand. Okay, at this time, are there any other candidates that have come in besides Gary and Weston? Would you like to come in and come up and speak a little bit?
Law before order. Law before order.
Hello, my name is Gary Garcia and I'm running for Bexar County Sheriff. I'm going to take a page out of what was said here a minute ago where they're saying let's flip this. Because this was said about 3 or 4 times at other party events by other people saying, you know, that we should vote for the person that can beat the Democrat. And if you've looked at the news today on Fairfax, KSAT 12, it's showing the sheriff right now, Javier Salazar, as a 59% approval rating. That's saying a lot. So he may go to the general election. So through our Republican Party side, not only do I know about the sheriff's office, but I'm going to tell you the reasons to vote me is because, number one, my other running mates have no chance of beating the Democrats. They don't. One of them is the same person as Javier Salazar. He came from SAPD, and he's friends with him. And so the people are going to stay with that vote if he goes through. And then the other running mate that we have, if you've heard him, you know that they're not going to vote for him. Just because of his last name is not going to get him in there. So why would you vote for me? Because I know what's wrong with the sheriff's office. I've been there. And every debate that we've had, I've had to correct the people that I'm running against on easy questions. So when it comes to the hard questions, I'm going to be able to outdo Javier Salazar because he and the other Democrats, they still don't understand the jail. They still don't understand what it is to be a sheriff, and I bring that to you. So I would appreciate your support. Thank you, Gary Garcia, and I'm number 2 on the ballot.
All right, well, howdy, I'm glad you guys are here tonight. You know, I'm Weston Martinez, and I joke sometimes that I'm so West Side, it's in my name. Bunch. Went to Henry Gonzalez Elementary School right down the road, and went to Meadow Village Elementary School as well, and graduated from John Marshall High School. I'll make this real short and sweet. Let me tell you what, I'm the conservative Republican that Nelson Wolff does not want to replace his son Kevin on County Commissioner's Court. That's right, Kevin Wolff is retiring. We're $4 billion in debt. You've seen some of my red signs around here, and I promise you this, whichever one of these people makes it to the general election, I'm gonna help them get elected. I'm the guy that started the recall. I'm the guy that started the recall against Julian Castro when he was mayor, and he was trying to attack Christian business owners like the man that owns this restaurant. We were walking at the MLK parade, and Joaquin started complaining at me. Oh, you know, I'm really disappointed that you did that to my brother. And I told him, I said, you know what? You're the one that went to Harvard Law. Did you take a constitutional class? I'm disappointed in you. Well, we were jawing at each other, and then I said, you know, Julian, I really don't. And we said, we're talking, it was about 10 minutes went on. And he looked at me and he says, I'm not Julian, I'm Joaquin, the congressman. And I know the difference between the two, but I thought they switched on me, kind of like the river parade. No, for real, not even a joke. I'm not even trying to get a tip. But we have to be able to fight the fights. We have to make sure that we're doing things like I can do, right? We need to call truth to power. We need to make sure that we're balancing the budget. They're $4 billion in debt today. The jail has $100 million in uncollected warrants. $100 million in uncollected warrants. Yeah. Oh yeah, because is it a hotel or a jail? We should have 4-star hotels. not 4-star jails. You can get out anytime you want at the Bexar County Jail. I'm going to call for a forensic audit on the jail. Believe me, they don't want me down there. I'll tell you the last Juliana Joaquin story. At the end of the day, I'm the most conservative. I'm the strongest Trump supporter. I have White House press credentials from the president. I was at the rally in Dallas. A whole bunch of that stuff. I'll tell you one last funny Joaquin story because we need to all beat Joaquin. So I went to the inauguration, and Senator Phil Gramm and his wife were on the plane. And we just paid for, we were, in Southwest Airlines, everybody's first class. So we paid, if you can pay to have the computer get your boarding pass. So I did that, and so did Phil Gramm and his wife. So they were like number 24, I was like number 26. We joked around about should I carry his luggage, and but I'm about from here to the window, and he says, and this is on the way to DC. He says, Weston Martinez, we're on the way to go see Donald Trump become the president. And guess who is number 1 business select one? Joaquin Castro. So we get there, we have the inauguration. On the way to the inauguration, I had a Democrat call me before we left. He said, Weston, I know you're going to the inauguration. I bought a hotel because I thought Hillary was going to win. Could you help sell my hotel? I said, let me just make sure I understand you. You're asking the Republican to help bail out the Democrat. And I said, as long as it comes with an inauguration tickets, we'll do it. So again, Phil Gramm, myself, his wife, Joaquin are on the plane. We land, and I look at my email, and the email says, pick up the tickets at Congressman Joaquin Castro's office. So I thought that was kind of funny and awkward. I go to pick up the tickets, had the inauguration, it was great. I left out early in the morning on Saturday, just because anybody that wants to be in DC, don't vote for them. None of these people, they don't want to be there. Treat it like Sodom and Gomorrah. So Phil Gramm and his wife are on the plane again. This time, I'm about from here to the front door. And the senator yells, Weston Martinez, we're on the same plane again. Only this time, Obama's no longer the president. Guess who's business select number 1 again? Joaquin. So we get on the plane at 75% empty, and the senator and his wife are like row 2. Joaquin is like row 4. He's already got his little headphones on. He's trying to ignore everybody. And I thought to myself, why the hell not? So I walk up to him in the row, and I bumped him, and I said, hey, you mind if we split a row? That way we don't have to sit by somebody we don't know for 3 hours. Okay. And this is the way they talk. So I sit down, and he looks at me, and he says, how's it going? It's going good, man. How's the family? They're great. How's yours? Oh, it's good. And then he looks at me, and he says, so I understand that you got inauguration tickets from my office. And I said, I did, but before you give retribution to the Democrat, he thought Hillary was going to win. I was just bailing him out. Guys, I'm Weston Martinez, the conservative Republican running for county commissioner. It's an 80% Republican district, so that whoever's there can vote with the county judge. 90% of the time, I'm not going to do that. Nelson Wolf ain't my daddy, but I can spend my political capital, putting my neck out to help get somebody to beat Joaquin. Thank you guys for what you did tonight.
Any other candidates? Sorry if the candidate's not here. Okay. Okay, please pay your bill. I'm not rich, and in the past I've had to pick up tickets. So I really appreciate all of you coming out. Southside on the Rise is going to be joining with Jamie Fonseca's group. Did Jamie leave? Her to San Antonio. And you probably won't see this group after the election. If I decide to have another important forum or something like that before the November election, I'll be putting the word out. Like us on Southside on the Rise initiative on Facebook. But anyway, we feel like we can do more good with Heart to San Antonio. Is Jamie gone? So anyway, pay your bills And thank you so much for coming out. Take care. Bye-bye.